Okay, so what if you had a song that didn't have click, a guide, didn't have tracks, but you still wanted to have a metronome going? Let's just say our next song is 70 BPM. It is in 4/4, but we just want to have a click for it. Now, in your template and setup for the weekend, you probably already have something that's like a generic click, a way to add that in. But let's just say, what if you had to build it on your own? You had to build it from scratch. I think it's helpful to know that, to kind of know how this stuff is working. So I'm going to right click, hit Insert MIDI Track. Because what we're going to do is we're going to create an instrument that's going to be the sounds of our click. You don't have to do it this way. You could have the built-in Ableton Live click that's up here, built-in metronome, and just have that going the whole time. In fact, you could even, I'm going to turn off this click altogether. Let's just say for fears.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
right?
4.
You could just have the built-in metronome going. So that is an option if you want to do that.
2.
The only thing with that is you don't really get the
2,
ability to customize the sound.
4.
You don't really get the ability to add subdivisions and that kind of stuff. But you know what? If that works for you, go for it. But again, most of the time for us, we're going to be using our own click in that sense. All right, so I'm going to build one from scratch here. And this is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to get a percussion instrument. I'm going to go to instruments over here in my categories. I'm just going to type in percussion. And showing that we got something under impulse here, which is a certain type of instrument. And I'm just going to double click that. You could also click and drag it onto this MIDI track, but now you can see it's percussion 1. I'll change this to red just because I can. And now I'm going to build our click. So I'm going to right click. Let's just say this third song again is what's going to be our click only song. If I right click and hit insert MIDI clip, it just kind of added a 1 measure looping, because this loop switch is on, clip in here. So if I were to fire this scene, right now there's nothing in this clip, it's just blank. But you can see how it's playing it and then looping. When it gets to the end of this, it's going back to the start and just continuing. All right, I'm going to stop that. Which is great because we can just do 1 measure in 4/4, because that's by default, we're actually in 4/4 right now. If I change this, it would kind of change our grid up here at the top. Let's just go ahead and make this. We can kind of see our measure markers here. This is beat 1, this is 1.2, so that's beat 2, 1.3, beat 3, 1.4, beat 4. All the way at the end there, obviously, is where measure 2 would kind of start, from it looping back on itself. Let's find our sounds here. I'm actually going to hit this little headphone thing so I can hear what sound I'm on. All I did was double click into this open space. So I'm going to use that kind of wood clave sound for our accent on beat 1. Let's go to beat 2. We'll go with like a wood block for beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. I'm going to rename this, knowing that this is just a 4/4. I'm going to rename this to generic click. Right, so it's looping back on itself in perfect time to 70 BPM. You can notice 70 BPM in both spots. And if I were to adjust this to say 125 BPM, and relaunch this, it adjusts because it's conformed to this grid that I've placed this stuff. So super simple. And you can even go in and you can kind of mess with this instrument here to where you could bring like the wood up or down and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Again, you can even add different sounds if you wanted to. Right, so that you can kind of customize how this is working. You can control the velocities if you don't want the shaker to be quite as hard, quite as loud. You can drag those down. or bring them back up. Real simple. So that's kind of how you could even just create and add your own generic click. There's a 4/4. You can even kind of make it into a template where you go 6/8 over here in the signature. And here I'd have to start dragging some of the stuff down because I want to get to where it actually would start. There we go. I want it to start on measure 2 there. And it is set to loop. Again, it doesn't have to be on, but for our purposes, we want this on. Again, I could take the same things. I'm just going to drop it in. I'm just going to hold down the Option key and kind of duplicate that on over. I guess I didn't need that one. All right, so now that would actually give me something in 6/8, which that is really fast, but let's just rename this 70 BPM and 6/8. And again, you can add whatever other sounds you want and adjust how loud and quiet everything is. But you can see up here, 70 and 6/8. Just what we've typed in over here. And it's conformed to the grid based off the tempo. So, really simple. At that point, you can rename this. Rename this. Okay, I accidentally typed over that. Select this clip, and I changed this to 6/8. And then you can kind of drag them to the bottom of your set. And whenever you need one, I'm going to turn off this record because you really don't need it. Now you can just drag it wherever you need it. If you have multiple songs that just need a generic click, you can just copy and paste it, or hold down Option and drag it, and it kind of duplicates it on its own. Cool. So now it's really easy. Just type in your tempo and again your time signature, and you're good.